Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Imagine my little girl, regular.
Guys, did you see me dance?
No, you waste energy and time.
I turned penis into gold.
Are you okay?
I want to see you naked.
Surprise, dude, you got herpes.
If I did you a ventriloquist.
You're really well dressed for a shadow puppeteer.
What is he gonna culturally appropriate this time?
My man.
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. I'm Matt, and joining me as always is Ben, Emily, and Wes.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, I'm Wes.
Every time. And today we have a very special and incredible guest with us today from Book Retorts. Welcome to the show, Danielle.
Hello, everybody.
Yay.
Yay.
I have another woman with me.
So exciting.
And this week we are watching Southland Tales. So that is
Southland
exciting.
Tales.
Yeah.
So before we get
interesting
started, does anyone have anything interesting in their glass? I know I don't.
I decided to make a glass of fluid karma, like in the movie. And it's the red kind because it's mainly cranberry Sierra Mist because it just came out for the holidays and I buy like 22 liters of it before it disappears. So cranberry Sierra Mist.
Oh my God.
And rum and vodka and blue curacao.
Commitment.
Yeah,
like a sad
right.
episode of Hoarders.
Does cranberry Sierra Mist surpass Mountain Dew for the holidays for you? Is that like your eggnog?
Yeah, it is.
All right, I get
I've
that.
never even heard of it.
Mine is kind of on par with the movie just because there's some politics involved, but I threw together every blue thing I could find in my house and I'm calling it a Joe Biden. Hip, hip, hooray. So it's blue curacao, blue raspberry vodka, and blue bubblegum Jones soda.
It just does not sound appetizing.
Oh, no, it sounds really
But
gross.
look how blue it is.
It is very blue, Wesley. Good job. Danielle, you have anything special?
Oh, goodness. It's morning here, so all I had in my house was red wine and Prosecco, and I went with Prosecco, given the options.
Good choice.
Because I'm celebrating, and also, it's a totally appropriate morning beverage. And if I had orange juice, I guess I'd mix it in there, but I don't. So there you have it. Also, if it was the end of the world, I would drink Prosecco or champagne. Like, that's a legitimate thing to drink.
Ooh,
Pretty good
I like
research.
it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely not red wine.
No.
For the end of the world or for the morning.
It was actually the only thing open in my fridge, and I was like, oh no.
Not today.
Not after cereal.
So tell us a little bit about what you were up to in 2007, as that's the premise of the show.
Okay. 2007, I was a junior in college, and I was actually studying abroad that year. So I was in Spain.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, super, super exciting year. It was not the first time I'd studied abroad, so I don't have a lot of those classic American in places they shouldn't be maybe stories because I was pretty savvy by then. But I did spend 6 months in Spain and then traveled around Western Europe with my roommate who was in Denmark that year. So that was pretty fun.
Which part of Spain were you in?
I was in the south of Spain in Granada.
Okay.
It's
honestly on my bucket
really
list.
neat. Yeah, it's an amazing area. I do actually have a kind of a funny story from England, which has nothing to do with Spain.
Ooh,
but if
yes.
you all want to hear it.
Yes, we do.
Of course.
So my roommate and they paired us up in the program. My roommate and I went to England during spring break, and we decided to go see Buckingham Palace. So we get to Buckingham Palace, or what we assume is Buckingham Palace. Neither of us were very convinced that's actually where we were. And so we're like looking at it. We're trying to decide. It was kind of before you had cell phones. You could like Google a picture and see if you were in the right place. There's a lot of tourists around. I don't know why neither of us could remember what Buckingham Palace looks like. But this man approached us and he comes up and he goes, I know this is the dumbest question in the whole world, but is this Buckingham Palace? The two of us are like, you literally picked the only two tourists in the entire area that have no idea if this is Buckingham Palace or not.
I'm going to be honest. Like, if someone asked me that, I don't know. I don't know how to describe what Buckingham Palace looks like.
Just yeah, like
you you think you know what it looks like, and then you get there and you're like, I don't know.
Right.
There are guards out front, I guess.
Can I ask you a question about like what was like, so you're abroad, what was your movie experience like during that? Was it like DVDs or did you ever pop into the theater?
Oh, that's a good question. My host family was 100% Spanish speaking. So we would watch a lot of like old movies and TV that had been out for a couple of years on the actual like television in the living room. But we did go to a couple of movies and they were in English with Spanish subtitles.
Oh, okay.
I also actually took a film class. And so there were like in Spanish at the college, and they were doing a lot of Spanish movies. So I ended up seeing a lot of Spanish movies from that time period, which was kind of cool.
So cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a really neat class.
Tell us a little bit about Book Retorts and how you guys choose to cover each episode.
Yeah. Book Retorts is, contrary to the name, we don't just do books. We also do movies, TV, graphic novels, comics, and it's me and my co-host Sam. We met in high school, so we've known each other a very long time. And we basically, one of us picks a media piece that the other person has no experience with and explains it to the other person in great detail from beginning to end. And the other person,
amazing.
yeah, we pick weird media pieces, things that don't make sense, that are plotless, that just have gaping plot holes, or just very contrary pieces. And then the job of the other person is literally just to listen and point out everything that they think is wrong or confusing about the plot explanation. So we pick things. It's just conversations that we have, like, oh, have you seen this? Have you read this? Have you read this graphic novel? And if the person says no, you're like, okay, great. That's what we're doing in a couple of weeks. Sometimes we have no idea what the other person's doing until we record that day. And that's always kind of fun. We have an ongoing list of things the other person hasn't experienced.
Do you have a favorite episode or?
That's hard.
I guess it's a different experience depending on if you're showing or if you're being shown.
They're all like our little babies, but
well, what was like super surprising when Sam like brought something to you? Was there anything that was like really surprising? You were like, "What is this?"
Right.
We did a Halloween special. He did arachnophobia recently, which was pretty fun. I had never seen that, or if I had, it was when I was, a tiny child, and that's pretty much in line with the kind of movies that Sam might like. He doesn't watch a lot of horror movies, but my reactions to that, I think, were pretty funny just because I don't mind spiders. I live in a country house. Like, I see spiders all the time. But some of those scenes he was describing, I was like, oh, God, stop talking. So,
nice.
Yeah,
so, Danielle, do you think you would be able to explain to Sam what happened in Southland Tales?
No, see, I was actually trying to figure out the plot after I watched that. And I Googled it. And I read the description of the plot, and I was like, oh, that was the plot of the movie. But I think, gun to my head, I couldn't have told somebody what the plot of that movie was.
I still can't, and I've watched it 1.5 times now.
What about Southland Tales made you excited to be on the show today?
So this was actually one that Ben picked out because we were talking about weird media. But I looked it up. It has an amazing cast. And not that I understood the plot, but what I read of the little summary sounded crazy, so I was totally in. I mean, it had Sarah Michelle Gellar and Wallace Shawn, so I was sold.
Yeah, I came into this with zero knowledge, so when The Rock first showed up, I was like, no way!
That's how I felt about Wallace Shawn.
All right. Well, I'm excited to dive into Southland Tales. So if you haven't listened to the show before, listeners, during the first half of the show, we'll be discussing and reviewing Southland Tales. In the second half, we'll be featuring our Battle of Twits, a creative competition pitting Ben against myself again. Our current leaderboard is guests with 8. I'm in 5 points. Ben, Wes, and Emily are all at...
Dang, Matt, you got 5 points?
Woo-hoo.
You're looking good just based on that quick snapshot.
Even though Ben's number has recycled.
Nobody listened to any old episodes. Please.
Start with this one.
Great. If you see this one, move forward from here.
Matt, can I ask you a quick question?
No.
Okay, this isn't a question then. Say the name of the movie one more time.
Southland Tales.
Does that feel weird in anybody else's ears?
I mean, the fact that he's ending on an up, it sounds weird, but I don't see any problem with it.
The Southland. Like it's
the Southland part? Southland versus Southland?
Do you say Southland?
Yeah, Southland Tales.
I say Southland.
I don't know what I was saying.
That's fair.
How do you say Greenland?
Greenland.
Oh, the same way I just said it. Shit.
You can't say it first.
Yeah, fuck. Okay.
Greenland.
How do you say Greenland?
I guess I would say Greenland.
I think Southland is fine.
Oh my God.
Greenland.
Okay, whatever. Well, let's talk about this movie.
Okay, so this movie's called Southland Tales.
Oh, there's the Georgia.
Directed by Richard Kelly, featuring Dwayne Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Sean William Scott, Justin Timberlake as the narrator.
This is an epic Los Angeles crime saga.
And you're researching your role. You play a cop. You want to do ride along?
Yes, exactly. But I'm also directing the film. It takes place in the near future.
Right.
Scientists are saying the future is going to be far more futuristic than they originally predicted.
Act 4, Temptation Waits. When Texas has a nuclear attack on 2 towns, World War III breaks out, and the U.S. reinstitutes the draft, and the Patriot Act is extended, introducing U.S. Ident, which monitors everyone and everything with secret cameras. The Republicans are trying to win the 2008 election, but after the presidential candidate's son-in-law is missing, boxer Santeros, played by Dwayne Johnson, after mysterious circumstances in the desert, boxer ends up with amnesia and hooked up with a psychic porn star, Krista Now, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar. They wrote a screenplay predicting the end of the world called The Power. Coincidentally, a cop named Officer Tavener, played by Sean William Scott, also has amnesia, and he is helping the neo-Marxists take down the Republicans under a complicated ruse using Boxer. Oh my God.
And this doesn't even explain
anything.
No.
I was trying to come up with a way of talking about this first chapter, and what I really need to do is go backwards. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to kind of give you the info about Richard Kelly and the graphic novels. It's like a Harry Potter movie.
Please do.
Catch us back up.
Okay, so I just want to say that this movie has such a convoluted plot, but everything makes so much more sense if you go back and read the 3 graphic novels before, because it ties all of these characters together. And so you understand their relationships and their motivations. And originally, this movie wasn't written to be just one movie. It was supposed to be 6 graphic novels leading up to the last 3 chapters of the graphic novels. So it was supposed to be 9 graphic novels plus a website that was interactive, which apparently Donnie Darko also had. I guess. I learned about this.
2007 was wild.
I know.
they were just trying to promote the shit out of movies.
Yeah. And so it was supposed to be the 6 months prior, they were supposed to release a graphic novel for each month leading up to the release of this movie. And when I was watching an interview with Richard Kelly, he joked that Kevin Smith might have funded all of the graphic novels. And he was like, yeah, he kind of did. And so they've reduced it down to just 3. And so the first 3 chapters explains why this is now 4, 5, and 6. And you don't actually understand a lot of the backstory until you read or even just glance through the graphic novels. I didn't even read all of them, but it was very weird how each character has a very significant, important backstory. Boxer starts in the desert and then makes his return back. Krista is exposed to a rift and gains her psychic abilities through mushrooms, and she's reading the Book of Revelations. And then Roland/Ronald Tavener, he's buddies with Pilot in the war and then has amnesia. And they have this whole backstory where the killer's song is their mantra in the war. It is so convoluted, but it makes everything make so much more sense now.
All that stuff you just said, I got just from watching the 2-hour movie. So maybe my viewing experience was just on another level, but
fuck you, Ben.
What an attack. What an attack. That would actually be such a cool idea if a movie had a playbill where you'd open it up and see information about all these characters.
I wouldn't.
The full, you wouldn't like them even trying that? Because it sounds like they failed. Did they actually release these graphic novels ahead of time and people bought them?
Some of them. I think the last one, it was a little late. But yes.
It's wild because it's like you're assigning homework before the movie. And
Reading isn't homework, Matt.
Yes, it is. Yes,
I mean, to your average moviegoer, I don't know.
Danielle, back me up on this. Reading isn't homework.
Reading's not homework, but I also don't think a movie should like have prep work prior to having to go to it in the theater. So you're saying that started on chapter 4 because there were the 3 graphic novels prior to it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I kind of thought that it was started on chapter 4 because it's World War III. And then chapter 4. By chapter 5, I was like, I wonder if it was 4 because of World War III.
I like that Richard Kelly threw all of that exposition in the beginning, though, trying to explain 3 full graphic novels worth of information. It would be like if George Lucas at the start of New Hope tried to like tell you all about the Trade Federation from Phantom Menace and all the Galactic Senate workings and the entire like span of the Clone Wars all right at the beginning of episode 4.
It would have been a 45-minute scroll.
Right.
Well, so in that exposition dump, there are actual, like some of those weird pictures that you see, those are snapshots from the graphic novel. So when I was listening to this interview with him, he's talking about, you see some of these things and taken out of context, you go, what the fuck was that? What did I just see? A weird thumb political cartoon? No, it makes sense in the context of the graphic novel.
The first thing I want to talk about before we get into much more, we're already way deeper and I know a lot more already, but The Rock with hair.
Did that bother you?
Yes, it does. And somehow he still looks so strong but tiny.
This is before he got all jacked up for the Fast 5 movies. Like, this is
but he still looks so strong.
Yeah, did you see his muscles?
He was still a professional wrestler.
He's huge in this movie. He's just not ginormous like the 2020
Isn't
Rock
that crazy? That we don't need to follow up on that.
Wait a second. Shouldn't this be your own segment?
I've got too much on my own segment this movie.
Wesley,
I have to push it in.
I think the first thing I said to Corbin when I was watching this movie was like, The Rock is so small.
Right?
He's a pebble. I think this movie was actually the first time he dropped The Rock. He's just listed as Dwayne Johnson. So when Matt said The Rock in the cast names, I was like, no, you can't say that because he dropped it for this movie.
Apologies to The Rock. Wait, apologies
you?
to Dwayne Johnson, Mr. Dwayne Johnson. Fuck.
The entire casting of this movie is just batshit crazy to match the movie.
Yeah.
There are so many people from SNL in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You've got John Lovitz, Nora Dunn, Amy Poehler, Cherry O'Terry. Like, they just kept popping up. And John Lovitz as like a racist cop, that completely threw me because I've never seen him do anything serious before.
Okay, I have to interject here because I have personal knowledge that, Ben, your mom absolutely hates John Lovitz.
She does, yes.
And I would like to know why.
I have no idea why. He's just a very off-putting, sleazy guy, I guess.
I considered texting you last night and asking your mom to specifically be on the podcast just to find out why she hates John Lovitz so much.
Maybe he'll pop up again in 2007.
Maybe.
Danielle, were there any surprises for you in the cast besides Wallace Shawn? I know you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, Wallace Shawn was amazing. John Lovitz was just a weird addition in general because he kind of came out of nowhere. And then
It's also a weird role.
Yeah, it's a weird role. It didn't have much to do with anything. It was like they just inserted him in and then he disappeared.
He's got one of my favorite quotes in the movie, though.
There's some really good quotes in this movie.
I specifically wrote down 11 or 12 of them that I have highlighted here.
And then the cast just delivered them so well, too.
Yeah.
I don't remember where the pimp line is, but pimps don't commit
it's multiple
suicide
times.
line.
Yeah.
Multiple times. All the deliveries, like the characterization of Sarah Michelle Gellar in this movie, I fucking loved her in this. Like, she completely nailed whatever she was going for, whatever Richard Kelly was going for. And Boxer, too, the way he was like drumming his fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd never seen The Rock act like that in any movie before. And I'm like, this is insane.
Sarah Michelle Gellar is the one that I wrote down all the quotes for. I loved her lines. Her lines were so
many
funny.
Good lines. Yeah.
So speaking of, I'll get a couple of them out of the way because Sarah Michelle Gellar had my first quote that I wrote down, and it's the end of a longer line, but teen horniness and war. When they're going over the list of all the problems that America is facing, I was like, whoa, we are in for something funny here.
Her song is amazing.
Yeah, this porn star has her own talk show, and she's talking to other porn stars? Is that what was happening?
The entire conversation on her show, though, about flying from London to LA and then taking the morning after pill and it becoming the morning before pill. I was like, yes, that is so
that
funny.
One made me laugh a lot.
And then the line, scientists are saying the future is going to be far more futuristic than they originally predicted.
I wrote that one down.
I like that one a lot.
My last one here, just going back to the SNL alum, but Sherry O'Terry, who also referencing how jacked The Rock is. Sherry O'Terry looked ripped in this movie. I was like, I didn't recognize her for a little bit, but I think it was her first line where she's talking to the Highlander and she says, there would be a lot less violence in this world if everyone did more cardio. Hey, is that a bazooka?
There were some characters, though, that like I didn't realize that were people that I knew. Like, it took me a little bit of time to figure out that that guy in the ice cream truck was, oh God, what's his name in Mortal Kombat?
Raiden.
He's Raiden. And I was like, what is this movie?
Well, and then you have guys like John Larroquette showing up and
Will Sasso.
Will Sasso,
unfortunate attempt into being not funny. Curtis Armstrong.
The tiny little woman from Poltergeist who said, like, this house is clear.
Amy Poehler.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about her.
Played side by side with Wood Harris, who was Avon Barksdale in The Wire. Oh, what a pair. Their improv scene where they're riffing back and forth and trying to pretend like they're mad at each other with their fake noses on. And Sherry O'Terry and the other guy are listening on headphones, and the guy goes, man, they're really good at improv.
Yeah. The best part is they have no audience yet, and Wood Harris is like arguing with him, and he turns around and he starts swinging at the air like this.
Yes. Oh, it was so good.
That scene goes on forever, and there's actually nobody around. They're just like arguing for like 2 minutes before anybody shows up.
Right.
That's what poets do.
One thing I wanted to say about Richard Kelly is that he was very collaborative with his actors on this. So with this movie just being really radical, it was also very personal for him. He kind of like lost himself in writing the graphic novels and writing the script. But he talked about how everything that you kind of notice as little details were ideas from the actors. Like John Lovitz, his hair color was his idea. And he just thought that would be ridiculous. Or Miranda Richardson eating carrots and then that other character eating Cheetos. Like just weird things like that. Specifically, Sarah Michelle Gellar really wanted to look different and have a different outfit, different hairstyle in every scene. And just because she thought Krista Now would be like that.
Is 2007 going to wind up being the year of the movie about amnesia?
Oh,
this
shit.
movie, like we've done The Lookout, which was kind of about amnesia. There was Spider-Man 3.
Number 23.
But this movie, for some reason, the amnesia worked for me because there was an in-story reason that made the characters have amnesia, whereas everything else, it was more like amnesia as a plot device to write themselves out of a corner.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Versus this was like a result of a bigger thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the amnesia in this movie was also not the main driving point of the story. There were so many ridiculous things happening in this story the entire time
Was there
amnesia,
a
you kind of
driving factor of this story.
Well, I'm fine. Maybe my words were not accurate, but
Matt, what was the main driving force of this story?
The television, the news. There were like 1 minute shots of a television just telling us the news.
This movie did remind me of a lot of Starship Troopers in the way that it kind of was satire with the news. And even that beginning part where it's like the would you like to know more stuff from Starship Troopers. Like I got a huge sense of that from the very beginning.
I actually had a similar thought, and I think it was just because of the amount of cast and storylines going on. But later on in this movie, I got some real strong like Crash or Magnolia vibes.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any of these movies that you're talking about.
A bunch of disconnected storylines coming together at the end to make one story.
Okay.
Yeah, except that in the end of this movie, does it really explain any of the storylines?
The graphic novels do.
You're like hanging in there. You're like, it's going to explain it. It's going to explain it. Like, I'm going to know what's going on. And by the end of the movie, you don't know what's going on. It's all a lie.
You need a master's in theology to even understand what's happening.
Oh, God. That's true.
Did you fuck him?
Yeah, I fucked him!
Oh.
I fucked him real good!
Oh, you liked it?
I fucking fucking loved it!
Oh, you bitch!
I fucked your brother last night, too!
Oh!
I'll fuck him in front of you, too!
You a fucking slut!
Don't point your finger at me!
Bitch, I'll fucking kill you!
You kill me, I'll get the fucking cops out of here so fast!
How? You're gonna be dead!
I know people!
You're so good at improv.
The planned ruse of showing a fascist, racist cop killing two unarmed individuals while observed by Boxer, the famous actor with political ties, goes wrong when another officer shows up to the dispute. Betrayal between the neo-Marxists happens, and blackmail from Deep Throat 2 and Krista is attempted, and Boxer is found by his father-in-law to be in California. All the while, the election campaigning continues with the Republicans supporting Baron von Westphalen and his fluid karma, an energy source that uses the ocean's waves. And the Baron was also injecting fluid karma as a drug into soldiers and working to expand it globally as a part of a world domination plan.
This plot is insane.
So here's a little thing from the graphic novel that makes this like super cool because I didn't catch this in the movie the 2 times I watched it. So fluid karma they were using in soldiers to make so that they could like have telepathy. And so when Taverner talks about that dream that he has with Boxer when they're sitting together and he's, they just gone through stuff together. He talks about, oh yeah, I had this dream and then I saw you. It's because they were actually having the same dream at the same time and they could have communicated with each other. And that's a part of the fluid karma and all of the rifts in the time-space continuum.
Yeah, the same thing with The Rock saying, like, do you ever feel like you have 1,000 voices in your head? And it's like, yeah, that's the telepathy piece coming into play.
I don't like the tone and the head nodding there.
I do understand
I totally
this movie.
understand what's going on.
Why?
It's like, it's the telepathy thing.
Yeah, who understands this movie? What's wrong
I'm not
with
saying you
that
don't.
you
I still
understand
feel
this movie?
Well, this is not the first time I've seen this. I think I'm alone
really?
in that. Yeah. I saw this in 2007 and I fucking hated it.
How many times have you seen it?
And I'm going to say right now, I watched it now and I love it.
So this
I
is the
love this movie.
opposite of Across the Universe
Yes,
for you.
it is.
So the whole like nurses dancing with drug thing totally worked for you in this movie, but didn't work for you in Across the Universe.
It didn't work in Across the Universe for different reasons.
Okay. Just giving you shit.
So let's talk about that specific
Yeah, we haven't even
number.
talked about Pilot as a character, our narrator.
Oh, that goatee.
I like how all the characters all the actors play a kind of heightened role of what they actually are in real life in some ways. Like Sarah Michelle Gellar and also Justin Timberlake plays like a pop star that got drafted and is now like drugged out, It's just kind of interesting to see these characters play like really severe versions of themselves. And I was there for the dance scene. I'm just going to put it out there. I love random musical numbers in movies that don't make any sense. I was really excited about that one.
If you're going to cast Justin Timberlake, though, why not have him actually sing the song?
I mean, that's a good point. I don't have
Insurance.
And yeah, they gotta insure that beautiful voice.
I don't know. I think it added to the disharmony of all of it. He's on drugs. You could see the effect of the drugs around him, this wavy effect. And I think right at the end of the song, he's like smiling and kind of in this weird haze. And then his face actually kind of switches a little bit to this realization of maybe just being lost or depressed or something. It's really subtle, or maybe it's obvious. I thought it was subtle, but I really liked it. And so maybe it's just showing it more and more that it's all in his head.
So you think it was a metaphorical choice to like disassociate his voice from the actual actor?
So you think he was acting?
Wow, Danielle, you made me sound smart. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm here for you anytime.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't get, I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't get, but in this particular scene, the blood on his shirt, I just didn't quite understand the do you bleed, or I didn't really get
There's
what that was about.
Blood on his chest?
And on his back, it's the same shape. Isn't that?
No, I know. I meant instead of his hands,
I don't know what you're referring to.
Because I didn't understand why his shirt was all bloody either.
Oh, so you're trying to come up with an explanation and not
Right.
doing well.
Ben? You understand this movie perfectly inside and out. So.
Why is he bloody?
Tell us what the blood means.
I mean, I'm sure because it's in the dance scene that he's full of the blood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has to do with his time over in Iraq when he was like subject to that friendly fire. It was just him kind of flashing back to that state he was in when he suffered that injury he did.
Oh, yeah. That's the other thing we learned from the graphic novel. That's because of Travers. He threw like a grenade and that's why he got hurt.
That's in the movie.
It's referenced in the
not.
movie.
Is it?
It is.
friendly
It's
fire?
referenced in the movie. I agree.
Oh, God, I missed it.
I'm on Ben's side for that one thing.
God damn it.
I'm sorry.
I knew that it was friendly fire, but I didn't know it was Travers. Taverners.
Yes.
There's like 40 characters in this. You can't be expected to remember all of them.
But I read the graphic novel. I should know everything.
That's true.
There's one thing that I didn't understand about this movie. Just one thing that I didn't understand. And it's the scene where Taverner is standing in front of the mirror and it's delayed a second.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was weird.
I wasn't sure why that was. And that caused me to think, like, does something being cool or interesting justify its existence within a movie? Or should there be a reason that, like, is explained?
That was too cool to be in there without being explained. Something kind of cool, like a tracksuit or like a fancy tie. Fine. Something too cool, like delayed mirror tech? No. Why?
Well, I guess I never fully understood. I thought it was some sort of drugging that they were doing because his twin, Captive, when he gets released and wakes up and sees that guy talking to him to try to get him to leave when the government is coming to kill everybody, which, what a low standard for reasons to shoot to kill. But his like vision where it's all like not pixelated, and there's an artist that does a lot of paintings in this kind of like bubbles inside of squares where it's almost man, my art degree was so long ago.
Mosaic.
Yeah, kind of like a mosaic style. I thought that was super, super cool. But I think that sometimes stuff can just be cool and it doesn't have to have a reason in the plot as long as you know that like stuff is weird. Like if this were Good Luck Chuck and something like that happened, I think in sci-fi fantasy, whatever you want to call this movie, but like when you start throwing in elements that are not real, like that exist outside of our known reality, I am more forgiving of those things, even if they aren't like 100% detailed out.
Sam and I have actually talked about this on our podcast about how when you're reading a story or you're watching a movie, you expect every detail to lead somewhere because that's how things are plotted out. And in reality, of course, stuff happens all the time that has no bearing on anything in the future. So
yet.
Yeah. So it's interesting because that's just in your brain, in your brain set that like whatever's happening must have a reason. And often in movies, we've realized going through them in detail, there's stuff in movies that happens all the time that has no explanation and doesn't matter.
Sure.
As a director, like, or, you know, making a shot list as a cinematographer, like anytime you do an insert shot, so like a super close up on an object, it's like 99% of the time that thing is going to matter. So once you learn that, or like once over that clicks, like watching movies is completely different. It's not surprising anymore. You're just like, oh yeah, the Bible stopped the bullet because they showed it earlier in the scene and it was like in his pocket or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and I think you could probably find a justification for having that in the film. I just, as the viewer, wanted to know so much more about it and why he was experiencing it that way.
You know why, Ben? Because you are all into hard science fiction. That's why, because you were very interested in how the rifts were working. You wanted to know when they explained how like both of them were the same person. You were like, yes, I can get on board with that. And that's why they have amnesia. I totally get this. But then that one part, you were like, that's not explained with hard science. So
Ben does that all the time.
It's true. It's true.
Did you know that the dance scene is actually Richard Kelly's favorite scene? And it's what he describes as the heart and soul of this entire movie.
Well, it's got soul.
It does got
Okay.
soul.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
This is why I'm replacing you on the podcast.
When this movie was released, so many people told him to cut all of the lyrical moments and get rid of all of that stuff that just didn't have any rhyme or reason with the plot because it made it even more convoluted and confusing. But he said that with this form of art, with movies, having the camera do different things and having music and have it be dancing, it's one of the most cinematic moments, and he wants to hold on to that, and he talked about you got to stick to that if that's what you truly believe in. Like, you can't cut those scenes. And so maybe that was why he kept the mirror in Ben.
Maybe.
I don't know, but we know this is all like satire.
What is it satirizing? Like, what do you guys think?
The United States?
Politics, probably.
And politics?
Richard Kelly wrote this like after 9/11, or was it before 9/11?
Before. He wrote it before 9/11 and then revisited it after.
So this is really his response to Bush era governing in the wake of 9/11. Like the entire US ident is like the NSA, the patriotic stuff. So
yeah, which is why Miller Lite is the beer promo of choice instead of Busch Light.
What?
That was a good joke. That was a good joke. In all especially in the beginning of the movie, when they're doing all of the exposition, they have all these advertisers across the screen. And one of the main, it was Hustler, Miller Lite, and some other thing was like the main advertisers for all of this news media. And then you said Bush, and then I made a funny connection in my brain about Busch Light being a beer.
Thank you for explaining the joke, Wesley.
It's always funnier that way.
It's like slowly explaining, and then I made a funny connection in my brain.
So do we want to talk about the Marxist plan, like what they actually were trying to accomplish?
Oh, yeah. By the way, there were Marxists in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't even got to that.
Right.
Neo-Marxists.
Yeah, it's true. Clarify.
So their plan is to ruin the guy's campaign because his son-in-law is along for a shooting that is racially charged. Is that their plan?
You're the expert. Like that's why I'm asking, because I literally don't know. Like I understand the plan. I don't understand what it was hoping to achieve.
I think it's trying to ruin the guy's chance to win the election so that the Clinton Lieberman ticket, a great little reference made.
Yep.
Easter egg. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Wins the election.
So then here's where I got like super lost. Lovitz was with Sherry O'Terry, wasn't he?
Yeah. And she was like backstabbing the other Marxists. I don't know. I feel
exactly.
Man, cutthroat Marxists. What is this world coming to?
Marxist against Marxist crime. Like it's
well, there were even like two Marxist plots going at the same time, where like one was involving Boxer Santeros and his sex capades with Krista.
Mm-hmm.
But then also there was, I don't even know. There was just a lot in that middle chunk.
I think the real moral of this story is that neo-Marxists need to work together to create a better America.
Perfect. Okay. And next act.
The fourth dimension will collapse upon itself. You stupid bitch.
In the launch of the Trier Mega Zeppelin, Boxer learns that the Baron's fluid karma is actually slowing the rotation of Earth, which is ripping holes in the fabric of space and time. Criminal activity increases drastically because Roland and Ronald Traveners, that's funny, touch hands, and they are actually the same person, duplicated when Roland traveled through a rift in time, and the world ends, fulfilling the prophecy of Krista now and Boxer's screenplay.
When you summarize these things, are they supposed to help the listeners understand what's going on in the movie?
We're really trying.
A lot of it's just me learning how to read.
That's usually the biggest issue, yeah.
I mean, in this movie specifically, I don't think there's any oral, like somebody telling you of this movie without it being like at least 10 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
Agreed.
So
you're doing a great job. It's okay, Matt. It's not your fault.
I think it helps most of the time.
Except this movie makes complete and total sense. The screenplay that they create is literally a screenplay that they're doing within this movie. Like, the screenplay exactly predicts what happens in this movie. It's very much like the movie Seven Psychopaths in that way, where they're trying to write a script and the script is actually the script for the movie that you're watching now.
That was a good movie. We should have done
Krista
that one.
Now.
So it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, because I read this on Google. I did not understand this in the movie. Apparently, Krista now is psychic. And
yeah,
she and what's his face, Boxer, write the screenplay together because they have psychic knowledge of the ends of times, revelations, all of that. And that's where the screenplay comes from.
Kind of. Because what really happens is Krista lies to Boxer and says it's their screenplay, but it's really Krista's screenplay that she wrote when she was high on mushrooms and psychic.
Right. And they read her Book of Revelations and she predicted the end of times, and this is it.
Exactly.
As one does when they do mushrooms.
I did not realize Krista now was psychic until I Googled the movie.
It's okay. I didn't either. And then the second watch through, I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense now.
I'm pretty sure there's a line in there that Krista says, I am a psychic, or I am psychic.
Yeah, but were you going to believe her?
Like, come on.
Yeah. I believe porn stars.
Yeah, I take everything at face value.
I don't know. With her talk show and everything, and with her just, she was such a character that I didn't even know what to believe about her. She's like, my prophecies, my listeners listen to my prophecies. And I'm like, oh God, I don't know what you are, and I love it.
She also seemed much more intelligent in the beginning of the movie, and then suddenly was kind of much dumber as it went along.
Well, until the very end, where she's very like full of wisdom.
Yeah,
like right at during her dance with Mandy Moore, which we haven't even said Mandy Moore is in this movie.
Yeah, Mandy Moore's in this movie.
Yep, she's in there.
And Wallace Shawn, come on, people.
Yes.
When he, sorry to jump way back, but when he's talking, Wallace Shawn is talking about the cars that are fucking as a commercial for his car because they're saying fuck fossil fuels.
Oh, that was the message?
And that kind of shit. Yes, that was the message. I got that pretty easily because, you know, they want to get rid of fossil fuels. He was going through this really dramatic telling of how they don't have to burn the spirits of the dead anymore. And I was like, oh, that was so clever. But yeah, he was perfect.
How do electric cars have sex?
Well, why would electric cars not have penises, but regular cars do?
I mean, they don't have the tailpipe or the muffler.
But what?
They have sockets. Do they have sockets?
Making a
How do
joke
electric
that
cars
didn't
work?
land.
Good try, Matt.
I made a funny connection in my brain, and then I didn't stop it from coming out my mouth.
And we can't all be geniuses, Matt.
Well, Ben, even though you understood everything when this movie debuted, it hardcore flopped in Cannes. That's how it's supposed to be pronounced. A mixture of Cannes and Cannes.
Right?
Which is a film festival.
Yep, the film festival. It was literally booed.
Mm-hmm. Well, the movie we saw is not the movie that premiered there.
Right.
Like the movie premiered there was like 3 hours long, and it didn't have any of the finished special effects. So I can understand why it would be booed there.
Yeah.
That's also why if you look up Southland Tales, it says it came out in 2006.
I was curious about that.
But really it came out in 2007 because it premiered at Cannes and then didn't come out to U.S. theaters for like a year and a half after that because they basically had to re-edit it and finish the special effects.
Right. They completely cut out what's-her-face character.
Ginny Garofalo.
Yes, they completely cut her. Like she has a cameo, I think, when she's like the general. She's like General MacArthur. That's her name or something. There's so many weird things in this movie, but
didn't he get into that festival just like submitting it thinking they wouldn't accept it? And they're like, sure, we'll take your movie. And then it was just completely shit on.
Well, you got to remember, he's coming off a lot of clout with Donnie Darko. Like this is his first movie after that. And Donnie Darko wasn't exactly a hit when it came out, but it kind of built this cult status as being something that was meaningful.
It also had a website.
An interactive website, right?
How long did it take Donnie Darko to receive
the critical acclaim that it has?
It came out in 2001. When did you and I start watching it? Probably 2003 or 4?
I can tell you, if I rewatch that movie right now, I would absolutely hate it. So I'm never doing that to myself.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. It just feels like a band I liked in high school, like Yellow Card or something, where I'd be like rolling my eyes at my adult self.
Well, you're wrong because Yellow Card is still great.
Okay.
You don't think you would nostalgia enjoy it?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm scared.
Danielle, I'm assuming you've seen Donnie Darko.
Yeah, in college. I have a kind of similar feeling towards it. I'd either probably really like it now or I would absolutely hate it now. I'm afraid to watch it again. It was weird.
Seen it.
And the bunny gives me nightmares.
What? I literally looked at the movie case when I was watching this movie for Donnie Darko, and I was like, "You're next." So
Yeah.
I'll report back. But I feel like I watched Donnie Darko in like 7th or 8th grade, which I'm trying to math what year that would be for me, because I feel like I watched it pretty early on.
Because I want to pick on you, Matt, since you know everything about the Bible.
Mm-hmm. I'll play along for this.
Is this an accurate retelling of the Book of Revelation?
100%. Yeah.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. They even use verses within the narration to kind of explain what you're seeing on the screen to give it credence of being a relatively faithful adaptation.
So can you give me some specifics that are good?
Just nope, stop it right there.
I want a specific, like one specific, because I have never, ever read the Book of Revelations. I thought there was supposed to be a dragon.
Not quite. So there's the reference of stigmata in the Book of Revelation, which is why Roland and Ronald, like the guy has the light coming from his hand, that's supposed to represent the stigmata that happens.
Do you want me to give you a rundown of Revelations?
Yeah, please
sure,
do.
Danielle.
I looked it up because I also could not remember the entirety. Basically, in the future, the world's like a terrible, terrible place. The Antichrist shows up and takes over, and the Antichrist has people with them, a false prophet, and they are supposed to like take over the world together. And then 2 witnesses appear, and they start speaking out against the Antichrist. They overthrow the Antichrist, and then a bunch of apocalyptic stuff happens, and then Jesus shows up, rides in on a white horse, quote unquote, and establishes the new order of God.
Which is why it's a white van at the end that rises to the sky. That's Jesus coming in on the white horse.
Oh my God.
And so the idea is like Baron is the Antichrist. Krista now is the whore of Babylon, which is like a whole other section of Revelations. The 2 witnesses are like Boxer and Roland, and the white horse, as he said, is the ice cream truck.
Oh my
and
God.
Jesus Christ is Ronald and Roland together.
Matt, I'm glad that you didn't explain that.
Me too. I learned quite a bit.
Did anyone have any favorite scenes or favorite lines that we haven't touched on yet? I guess I can't even tell. Did everyone else like this movie?
Yes.
I
right.
don't know. I need to rewatch it. So the first like 30, 40 minutes of this movie, I was like, okay, this is going somewhere. Like it's trying to do a thing. And I was like, I feel like this is going to be pretty cool. And then it just kept going, and I kept getting more confused. So I don't know.
I don't dislike this movie, but similar to Wesley, I was all in. I really wanted it to go somewhere, and I was captivated. It's visually stunning and just like super interesting to watch, and you feel like maybe it's going somewhere, but then it doesn't exactly go anywhere. So I liked a lot of things about this movie. I'm not sure I was sold on it as like a plot, a well-explained movie.
Matt, you were okay about it?
Yeah, it was just like kind of disjointed all over the place. Has that like as Wesley said earlier, crash feeling about all these storylines coming together at the end. I didn't read the graphic novel. I would consider this movie to be like one of those movies you could actually throw on at a loud party and just be like, oh, that looks cool. And you don't need to know what's going on. As long as you just accept that's what's on screen. I thought it was like fun.
And then people shout out, that's Justin Timberlake, or that's Mandy Moore.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of good cameos. And then there's good lines too, if you also listen to it, you know? So like, just like so many funny, like just like winning the scene type lines.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Poehler has a really good one in her fight where she talks about, you know, he has a 200-inch penis. You can't even get it
up. One of my favorites was with Kristen now, and one of the government people goes, "Are you Deep Throat too?" And she goes, "I'm not in that movie."
I liked her line, "All the Pilgrims did was ruin the American Indian orgy of freedom."
Yes.
I was like, no.
Yeah. No, honestly, like for me, watching this movie, I wanted to like it more than I did, but I still liked it. There were lots of parts that I liked. I will probably watch this again sometime, but especially in 2020, with a lot of those comments that happened, just random things that happened, it just felt so personable for this week. I don't know. It felt really real for this week of election season and how exhausted I was and going through it. I was like, this is funny but terrifying at the same time. And I don't know, I guess I liked that about it.
Yeah, the first 10 minutes of this movie, I was like, oh no, this might be too real, you guys. I'm not sure if I can watch that this week.
That's honestly how I watch everything these days. Like, it's rare for me to watch something, no matter when it came out now, and not relate it to our world. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But like, yeah, it's crazy how much of a different outlook on all media like that this past few months has caused for me personally.
Well, and I think this movie really benefits from watching it now as opposed to in 2007, because now that we've kind of experienced all this stuff with Trump and the media, like, we watch this with a different eye than we would have in 2007. And I think a lot of the stuff lands now that wouldn't have landed back then. So I don't want to say this movie was like ahead of its time, but I do think there's something to audiences just weren't prepared personally and politically for this movie at the time.
They weren't woke.
Wesley, you got some observations for us?
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
As I like to do, I'm going to walk you through my step-by-step. My very first note that I took for this movie is, this feels like it's meant to be a whoa movie, in quotes. And I don't think I was wrong. Fluid karma, inconceivable.
Nice.
Thank you. There was a store called Poop Deck. I don't have anything else about that, but there was a store called Poop Deck. And this last one is just, it still bothers me. So the once drug dealer, who was the son of a plastic surgeon for Justin Timberlake, blows up all of the government, and then he just decides to jump off of the sideways flying ice cream truck. Got it. That's it.
Ben, did they say it?
Now, say my name.
They didn't say it. This is unbelievable. So bearded Kevin Smith comes super close to saying it. He says Tales from the Southland, which is a way better title than Southland Tales in the first place. And I'm really angry that they didn't just go with that. But what the title of this movie should have been is Pimps Don't Commit Suicide. That is the title. They say it 4 or 5 times. I'm assuming the only reason they didn't is because Hollywood is saving that for the inevitable Cat Williams biopic.
Oh,
Wesley, I'm surprised you didn't observe the fact that The Rock drank that 6-pack in the 6-pack without...
I thought it was going to come up during our discussion, so I left it in my notes and not my observations. But yes, The Rock drinking one beer out of a still intact 6-pack
I want to do
like
that sometime.
the most badass thing I feel like I've ever seen.
Really?
Just walking in public, oh yeah, I don't even know how to describe it, but
I was like, I don't know what this movie thinks is cool, but this is not it.
No, you're wrong. That's okay.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
So I've already talked about this quite a bit, but I just want to quick plug the graphic novel again. If you're interested in graphic novels or you're interested in learning more about these characters and their complicated backstories, which they do, and honestly, some beautiful artwork. It is kind of disjarring and strange, but I love the color schemes and how they go back and forth between different things. But just take a look at it. Try it out. I think it completes the story that Richard Kelly was trying to tell. And honestly, he really pushed himself to do all of this. So honor his work. Give it a try. I think it's awesome.
Danielle, what's your review of this movie?
All right. So Southland Tales from beginning to end runs as if you've slipped into a fever dream, perhaps while high on fluid karma and Krista Now's energy drinks. Couple of dystopian nightmare easily reminiscent of current times, with porn stars, amnesia, rifts in space-time, infinitely quotable one-liners, and the questionably hairstyled Wallace Shawn, and set it to the backdrop of end-of-times revelations, and you have a plot so big it could never hope to contain it. However, against all odds, this messy and at times, read all times, incoherent movie somehow sucks you in whether you want to be there or not. Visually fascinating, ambitious, and world building so extensive you know there are dozens of script pages left unfilmed, it so badly wants to tell you a story that it somehow manages to barely tell it at all.
Wow.
Never have I wanted a movie to make more sense, only to find out that it ends with a floating ice cream truck and a choreographed dance number on a Zeppelin. 3 mega zeppelins out of 5.
That was awesome.
Wow.
Give some
Very, very
applause
nice.
for that.
Very nice.
That definitely makes me feel like that's exactly how I was feeling.
You could be the
Thank
next
you,
great
thank you.
reviewer of our time. That was so
I'll
good.
put that on my resume.
Yeah.
And now it's time to play Battle of the Deep Throat 2s. I will pose 3 rounds of questions, 1 for each world war, to our less than brainwashed doppelgangers and let them try to figure out who is real. The winner of each round will get 1 squib. Second place gets teen horniness. I will be more easily persuaded by the confusing and out there answers. After I consult my US ident panel to make sure that there's no funny business going on in the LAX bathroom, we'll announce a winner and update the leaderboard. So, pimps, are you ready?
Hell yeah.
Ready.
Teen horniness is a punishment?
Well, as none of us are teens, yes.
I suppose.
Oh no.
Oh my God.
All right, so question 1, we're going with a Wesley's Random question. The one scene in this movie that hopefully made everyone's jaws drop, and if you didn't, you should really look into Transformers fanfic, is the commercial for cars that I would categorize as mildly suggestive.
That's Cars 4. That's the plot.
Oh, no.
That was the trailer all along.
So I want you to please create a futuristic commercial for this world based off of a product that I'm going to give you now. Ben, my 2 options for you are either a hot yoga ice pack or a Roomba.
What is a hot yoga ice pack?
I don't know. That's up to you.
Oh my God. Okay.
What is a hot yoga ice pack? I have questions.
Yeah, Danielle, can you think of a product that you want to offer as an option?
A spatula.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to take a spatula for Danielle.
Woo!
I love it so much. All right. So while Ben is thinking of his answer, Danielle, why don't you tell us what is a movie or show you have watched recently?
I watch a lot of Korean dramas. I don't know if people.
Oh, yes. Tell us
Yeah,
about
let's hear
them.
about that.
What was the most recent Korean drama you watched about?
Oh goodness. Okay, this is terrible. Don't judge me, audience.
We're done.
And
I watch
people
anime.
here. I got sucked into this week. It's season 2 of I think it's a Thai show called Friend Zone, and I'm usually better than this. This is not. Don't judge me on this.
We don't at all. I love it. Keep telling me more.
It was just a good thing for this week because this week was very stressful. And it's basically like a soap opera, but just about relationships. There's not all the surprise twins and crazy alien nonsense or anything. It's literally just about relationship drama. And season 1 came out 2 years ago and season 2 just came out. And I've been marathoning it. I had 7 episodes in 2 days that I watched it. They're
Nice.
hour long. What I love about the show is the first season was sponsored by a snacking sausage, and they had to fit it in obviously quite a few times into the episode. So they would just constantly have snacking sausages for every time they opened the fridge, every time they were watching TV, whatever. They'd be eating sausages. My favorite scene, I've watched it a couple times and I laugh every time. This woman just broke up with her boyfriend. She's crying. Her friend comes to comfort her and she's like, "I'm so sorry this happened to you. Would you like some sausages?" And it's funny every time she goes to the fridge, gets some snacks, and she's like, "Yeah, these make me feel better. Thank you so much."
Let's hear your futuristic commercial for a spatula.
Yeah.
Always a good start.
A giant spatula flies through space as the sun is framed behind it. The music from 2001: A Space Odyssey plays in the background. The flat end of the spatula swings towards the surface of the moon, leaving a giant lined imprint into the surface of the moon. Then the moon transforms into a man's ass, with the same spatula marks left behind. Spatula, the future of BDSM.
I did not go where I thought it was going. I was like,
I don't think it went with anyone.
I need a drink.
I want to know the font style of this spatula, the future of BDSM.
It would definitely be something serif, because, that's needed.
Can you describe again how it hits the moon?
Like a big like a big pizza pie?
Yeah, like how you smack the top of your pancakes?
Sure.
To make sure, yeah.
No, I don't do that, but sure.
Oh, maybe I'm not making pancakes right.
That's probably accurate.
But when I flip my pancake, I'll slap the top of it with the spatula. That's kind of what I'm thinking, just like to make sure it's flat.
I don't understand. He's by far the most confusing person on this podcast.
He's literally having this realization right now. He's like, why do I do this?
I don't know why I do that, but I definitely
was going to say,
that.
I think we just learned something about Ben, but I think Ben also just learned something about Ben.
I did.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let Ben deal with that existential crisis on his own while we go to Matt. So, Matt, my two options for a product are a shake weight or a plunger. And Danielle, do you have a third option for us?
Yeah, snacking sausages.
Perfect.
I'll do snacking sausages.
Two for two.
I'm not sure I know much about them. Is it just like Slim Jim's size? Or?
No, so they okay, I don't know. But
what is it? What does it look like? They eat them
cold out of the refrigerator, and they're bigger than like Slim Jim sausages.
Hold on, I want to stop. Matt chose his fate. So
we're not helping
you
him
tell
anymore.
us what they are, Matt.
Okay.
Emily, what have you been watching recently?
I watched The Boondock Saints for the first time ever.
Nice.
I still haven't seen that. I'm sorry,
And
everybody.
it is okay. It's not like phenomenal. The only reason I love it is because of Willem Dafoe in it. And I don't know how to describe the scene where there's the whole big shootout, but the way that he just gets into it, and he is just such a character. Wow, Willem Dafoe, weirdly attractive to me in the way that you were acting. Not even because
I think
of his
weirdly
looks.
attractive to anyone.
Yeah, but just like how he just really nailed his part. It was so cool to watch. And like the whole premise of the movie, Danielle, I don't know if you know it. It's all about these Irish brothers that start doing revenge on all of the bad people in the neighborhood.
Right.
And then there's this FBI detective, Willem Dafoe, that's trying to figure out everything that happens. And he's like really good at his job. And it was a delight. It really was. It was a fun escape from the election.
I thought for sure you would have brought up Taskmaster.
Oh, shit. That's right. Also Taskmaster. So Wesley and myself have been watching Taskmaster for a while, and then we showed it to Ben. And I don't know, Danielle, if you've ever heard of it. It's a British comedian show. So essentially, these British comedians are all on a show, and then they're tasked with really dumb things, like see if you can make a pineapple disappear on your person. And so they have to like cut it
Paint
up.
the best picture of a horse while riding a horse.
Right. And then they all get judged for it. And they're all like famous British comedians, or one of them's American in the second series. But Canadian. Oh my God, it's so funny. Canadian, whatever.
Big
Same
difference.
thing. Sorry, our Canadian podcast that we love.
All right, Matt. So let's see how the product that you chose that you have no idea what it is, snack sausages. Let's hear the commercial.
Cold snacking sausages. We see a refrigerator. We open it and light fills the room. We can barely see anything through the bright white lights. And we see a cold sausage from the refrigerator. All these hot girls wearing schoolgirl outfits are holding them and modeling them, as well as we see shirtless, oiled up men, in their abs, and they have a little bow tie around their neck, like Chippendale dancers. They're holding them, and everybody's holding the sausages, but nobody's eating it. They're just looking at the camera and giggling to themselves. Because they're so good, right? And it's like, yum. Like, there's a voiceover that's like, yum, cold meat. And it's like sexual, but like it's not yet. So we finally see two of them. It's a guy and a girl, and they just hold a up to their mouths. They go shh, and then they take the sausages down out of frame, right? And it's just a medium shot, so we can only see their chest and up. and they go, shh. And then the voiceover comes on. And it's like, not just for eating. So it implies that they're sodomizing themselves with cold sausage.
Danielle, I'm so sorry that your spatula and snacking sausages got turned into such X-rated commercials.
Oh my
Did you see Matt's jazz hands at the end of that? Is that in the commercial, the jazz hands?
No, that was part of my presentation. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm ever in the room, in quotes, I'm going to do jazz hands at the end of my pitch.
I don't want to ask any questions.
So I guess this movie ends with the story inside the plot being a prophecy for how the world ends, or so I've been told. But wouldn't it be fun if a non-apocalypse movie that already exists were the story inside of another plot where the world does end? So I want you to pick a movie and then tell me how that movie leads to the end of the world. So we're going to start with Matt. This is probably the most complicated question we've ever done.
Okay, so I chose E.T. So E.T. is actually very evil, and the government trying to stop him from leaving Earth was just humanity's last hope. So all humans are destroyed after E.T. makes it home, except for Elliot and, one person of his choice to be living in an atrium that was created to look like normal Earth neighborhoods. And there's a big glass observation panel in which they could observe Elliot grow up as a pet. So I chose E.T.
Wow. Do they destroy the Earth,
where's the
or
apocalypse in here?
Yeah, the aliens destroy the Earth. He said
Yeah. So E.T. leaves, he gets home, and then they come back and they destroy Earth, and they only let Elliot survive.
Well, technically, you said that just all the humans were destroyed. Is it like everything destroyed, or?
I mean, like I'm picturing something really vague in the movie, but it's just
that's
like
what it sounds like too.
Shit.
So is Elliot left alone in this dome world by himself to raise himself? He's 10 or something in that movie? How old is he?
Well, I mean, he's allowed to pick somebody to be his partner, so hopefully he doesn't pick his mom if he has to stay there forever.
Oh, God.
It's a kid. He's not going to think that through for the future.
I was going to suggest Drew Barrymore, but I guess that option is also out.
Hopefully E.T. gets sat down and he sits down with Elliot and explains how important this decision is. Yeah.
Wait, so previously, Matt, you said E.T. is penis shaped. And that's it's a terrible movie. So is it because he's penis shaped that he's actually evil?
I'm going to stop you right there, Emily. I'm a politician on this show in the Battle of Twits. I will reverse my positions in the same answer in order to score points.
All right. I think we've given Matt way too much time for that answer. So let's go to Ben. Let's hear about your movie that is actually the apocalypse story inside of another story.
Biodome is the impetus for the end of the world. Bud and Doyle have proven the ability of the biodome to be self-sustaining, but at the end of the movie, as they drive off into the sunset, Doyle has to pee again, so they stop at a nuclear power plant. This is all within the first biodome movie. Now, fucking up a science experiment is one thing, but the havoc that they could recreate at a nuclear power plant is far greater. So they eventually trigger a nuclear reaction at all nuclear power plants in the entire world, which will lead to the destruction of the world. In 48 hours, though, because they realize what they have done and escape to tell their scientist friends that they screwed up. Luckily, and to their tremendous surprise, there is a second biodome, and it's built on the moon. They just needed to prove that it would work on Earth before sending the humans to live there. But now with the world ending, they need to escape to there immediately. So due to their success in the first biodome, Bud, Doyle, the scientists, and their girlfriends all get sent to Biodome 2 on a savior ship filled with 1,000 of the most important people on the planet. However, their success in the first biodome was a fluke and was solely a result of the purple sticky punch, which they are unable to create on the moon due to gravity.
Oh my goodness.
So they all die as well.
The end.
I want you to tell me why they are 4 of the 1,000 most important people on the planet, other than them being in the first biodome.
they have proved that they could make it happen in the first biodome.
I
They're the
understand.
only ones who
want you
should be allowed to go.
But not the other scientists that were in the biodome?
Well, no, they can come too. And the girlfriends, for sexual reasons.
Why the girl?
I just told you.
I just think my big takeaway is Ben and I need a terrarium. We both need a frog or a turtle or something.
No, I don't feel comfortable with that.
Why do these both involve dome sex?
On to question 3. As Matt's mother once told us, you all should read the book of Genesis. It's wild.
It's a direct quote.
I meant to write that in earlier, and then as we were talking again, I was like, oh god, yeah, I gotta write that. All right, anyway. With all of the biblical nods in this movie, I want to hear your pitch for a movie set in present day that is based on a Bible story. So, Ben, we're starting with you again.
Sam is an expert computer hacker who is capable of infiltrating the most secure networks in the world. Many have tried to recruit him to do hacking jobs for them, but Sam is reluctant to work with others due to the unique trait that allows him to be such a great hacker, and that he is worried will be exploited by the wrong people. One thing Sam can't deny, though, is his affinity for a good lay. His status as a ladies' man is undeniable, but he may have finally met his match in Lila, a competing hacker. The two have a whirlwind romance, and Lila becomes curious at how Sam is such a good hacker. She asks him repeatedly to share his secrets so she can be as good as him, only Sam keeps lying. Finally, Sam relents and shares with Lila why he is so good. He's part computer, obviously. This whole time, Lila has been working with the federal government to take down Sam, and she spills the beans to her superiors. They attempt to capture Sam, only he has another trick up his sleeve. He completely uploads his own consciousness to the internet and hacks the federal government, bringing it down from the inside. For those who have not caught on yet, this is the story of Samson and Delilah, which is about a woman who is paid to find the source of a man's power so that he can be defeated. He eventually tells her the truth after multiple lies and is captured, only to destroy the building he is being held in and killing all of his captors.
Does it have a name?
So in keeping with the story of Samson and Delilah and that being how it's known in the Bible, I'm going to just go with Sam and Lila.
How long is his hair in this movie?
It's long. I mean, yeah. To try to hide that he's a computer, he grows really long hair.
So his whole back is just like a circuit board, but he has long hair.
In the back of his neck.
So Matt, on to your answer. So let's hear about your biblical movie.
All right. So there is a wildfire in Northern California, and a firefighter is separated and presumed dead. He's a prisoner on the firefighter's path to freedom. I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of prisoners from California go on to fight fires. So they find him 1 week later after the fire, unburned, unharmed, in a barren and burned wasteland. It defies all logic and rationale. The firefighter doesn't know what happened. As the movie went on, he would go on to remember the event in which a higher power spoke to him. So for those of you that haven't caught on yet, the story is Moses and the burning bush. Act 1 would be all about setting up this world, the fires, the event. He's a normal guy. There's more and more fires. It's getting worse and worse. Climate acceleration, and him getting separated. 7 days later, they find him. And that's where it becomes a more of a psychological thriller, paranormal, hard science type of movie. So Act 2 would be all about the mystery and the why. How did he survive in such a massive fire without a burn? Where they found him, it was burnt to ashes, but with a cocoon surrounding him. The guy can't remember anything. And if you remember in the story of Moses in the burning bush, he's told to go and force Pharaoh to let his Hebrew people go. So similar, our protagonist would slowly realize he's been issued an order as well via the higher power. And the movie would play out as a psychological thriller in which he wouldn't know exactly what was going on yet, but he would start to do things at night and not remember it. Amnesia. Remember how we love this plot device, guys?
Oh my God.
Okay, so the media would be ramping up on his shit, being like, yo, how the fuck did you survive that fire? And then he finds out he's been doing stuff at night. Whoa, crazy, right? All right, so Act 3 would be him all trying to figure out, retracing his footsteps. And boom, he remembers everything inside the fire. It spoke to him and issued the command to return to his old prison and free the prisoners from unfair politics and an evil politician. He's been going to night school, guys. He's been becoming a lawyer.
Oh, goodness gracious.
My movie's called Burning Law, based on a true story.
All those years at like Bible camp, I was like ready for you to start singing about letting your people go or something, but you didn't. I'm a little disappointed.
Is he an unreliable narrator in the story, the main character, because you're not quite sure what's going on? Or are you just supposed to believe him the entire way through?
Oh, I think, yeah, it's definitely got to be that first person narrative. So I think he's definitely got to be unreliable. You make a great point in helping me develop the idea. Because he doesn't know where he's been. He's just as confused as everyone else.
Is based on a true story the subtitle?
No, that's just to help sell the movie, and it is based on a true story. When Moses saw that burning bush, they told him to go back at 80 years old.
And
that's it. Nope, that's all the facts he's got about it.
Based on a true story. So
you have to watch the movie to find out more. Question 1. Making a commercial about a product in today's world. Ben went first and had a story about a spatula, BDSM in the moon. The 2001 Space Odyssey in the background always resonates well with me. Your existential crisis was probably my favorite thing. Just in general, not about the podcast or the answer, but watching you try to understand why you spank pancakes is going to forever live on with me. Your answer also had some very strong visuals and had a really good twist at the end that I don't think any of us were truly expecting. Matt was much more of a slow burn. And watching Matt dig himself into and I'm quoting Danielle here, sexual fantasy sausage hole was fantastic. But at the end of the day, Ben's was just a little bit more fun. And most importantly, for how we're kind of looking at this was a really close one, but it was a little more unexpected. So, I mean, sausages, it's hard to not be expected sexually, but I think you did a good job with it. But that one's going to Ben. Question 2, the most complicated question we've ever had. A movie that already exists that's actually the plot inside of another movie that is the actual apocalypse. Matt, I just love the idea of E.T. I think it was a great choice. Elliot in Captivity is hilarious. Also, it's very sci-fi. And him being like the last one, like that's a really cool story. Ben's is a much more fleshed out idea as for a movie as a whole. And I really love Pauly Shore and it's Stephen Baldwin, right? I love the idea of them taking down a power plant. I think that would be amazing. But the apocalypse story in Matt's, I think, is a little bit better. And I think that's the one I would rather see. So that one is going to Matt.
I feel like Ben also agrees since he loves E.T. so much.
So E.T. was my first instinct to choose as well. But
Really?
then I was like, we already talked about E.T. I'm not going to do that one again. And then Matt was like, I did E.T. And I'm like, oh, God damn it.
Sometime we should make you guys choose the same answer and just see how you go about
That'd be fun.
different answers for it. Okay. Question 3. Let's talk about that Bible, baby. I don't really know the Bible at all. I know the core of these stories. So how I'm judging this is less based around the Bible. So basically, if these weren't about the Bible, which would I enjoy more? Ben's story sounds much more compelling, even without that biblical knowledge. And Matt, your answer was just a little too literal. And without me knowing the Bible, I don't know if I would have found that to be an interesting story. And I think I'm realizing a lot of this is just based around how much I enjoyed the sci-fi of just about all of these answers. But either way, question 3 is also going to Ben. So this week's winner is Ben with 2-1.
Nice.
Back
on track. Thank you.
Back on track.
Sorry, Matt.
Can you
Sorry,
imagine
Matt.
a back-to-back
It's all
defeat?
good.
No, I can't.
Yeah, we thought about it.
All right, guys. So that's the movie. We're wrapped. Come back next week. No, I'm kidding. You just have to let me process losing, you know? I'm taking it harder and harder since I've tasted that sweet victory. Danielle, thank you for being on the show.
Of course.
would you like to talk about your podcast and some upcoming episodes that you have?
Yeah, we're getting into our holiday ones. We have a couple of short episodes that we call Book Retorts because we were going to do short retorts, but we thought Book Retorts was funnier to say.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of short episodes there. So there's going to be a holiday themed one and also a recap episode where one of us picks one of our old media choices to remember. So we each do one for the other, and we have to you have to remember everything that you were told, 6 months ago, which is fun. And then we're also doing a couple of just holiday episodes in general. So that's what we have to look forward to for December.
Nice. Are there any weird holiday movies and things out there?
There are a lot. We have not fully chosen our holiday run. We're recording it this week, so I have to watch a movie or something. I need to pick one. You can follow us. You can reach us at bookretorts.com, or we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Book Retorts.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you
It's
for being
awesome to have
on.
you.
Thank you. This has been so much fun.
I agree.
Awesome. And to the people still listening, thank you. And you could help us by subscribing, rating us, sharing us. And that's pretty much it. Ben, what do we have next week?
So next week, we're going to try to tackle a documentary. We're going to be doing King of Kong. And we have on PJ from Real Gaming, which is a podcast that talks about video games and movies and how they kind of come out and are similar or different.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm supposed to record with him for Beowulf, for 2007 video game and movie sometime.
Nice.
Was Beowulf 2007?
Yes, it is.
It feels like it was just yesterday.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.